making a video back on this nihilism stuff basically, but it's sort of interesting, the chat rooms. I was in Fluck's room for a little while last night, and the conversation, I only went into it, well, I won't go into that, but it was these two idiots, two guys talking, and they're doing all this ragging on women, and you're just, you know, the title of the video, the room is Anti-natalist chat, and you're just like, what the hell does this have to do with anything? Anyway, so I just went in there to rag on them about that quickly, and it was just kind of funny, you know, because then Vic shows up and he just controls the agenda, and you're just stuck with the Vic show. You know, we're going to discuss forever trying to make a distinction between something, you know, real truth about value versus projected values, which don't mean anything, and his thought experiments will endlessly pick at the stuff on the fence, you know, the stuff that could go either way and it doesn't really make a significant difference. You know, no world wars involved. But anyway, so it's just a tedious waste of time because, yeah, there's no, I mean, you can say it over and over again, but I'm just saying there's no way you're ever going to convince me that it doesn't matter whether I have a nail in my eye or a cupcake. And that's really what this moral nihilism comes down to, or this value nihilism, is that they're saying that the ultimate truth is that these are all equal circumstances and no outcome is superior in any kind of preservation of something valuable or worth something, really worth something, in reality worth something, is at stake. And in my opinion, that's a nonsense more preposterous than any religious theory I've ever heard. The idea that it wouldn't matter if I create a universe of sentient beings in constant torturous suffering, angst, and one not, and that there wouldn't be a real difference. That it either but, you know, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, would be just as good as trying to make a rational decision. And that's just idiotic. And so on again, but it's just this idea that they turn every value into a subjective value. So there's no such thing as recognizing a value. There's only projecting a value. It's just so fucking ignorant. But anyway, so this emulator, you know, it says he's an anti-natalist, but in my opinion, you can only say you're a personal. Like, personally, you don't want to have kids. As soon as you say somebody else shouldn't do something, if you don't know you're right, you have no right to impose, in my opinion. You don't have any right to tell people what's right and wrong if you don't know what's right and wrong. If you don't have a firm, definitive, logic-based, evidence-based, fact-based reason to believe it, then you have no reason to impose it. That's like imposing rigid religious dogma. You're basing it on what, faith or your emotions? You're going to say, because I have an emotional problem, I wish to impose my emotional problem, the consequences of it, the logic of my emotional problem, on other people. Can't do that. So unless you know, okay, that it's right or wrong, you have no business telling anybody else what to do. None whatsoever. So you're absolutely useless to the cause, in my opinion. It's axiologically true that suffering matters. So they use this word axiological. Like they always do this. They play words with these tautology, all these stupid idiotic words. And these words really don't mean anything. You could say axiological means the study of value, or it could mean the study of valuing, or something. I mean, it just doesn't matter. It's just a stupid thing to say. Okay? There's no such thing as an axiological true. That's just stupid. Okay? The study says, you know, that you're not drawing any conclusions. And you're not basing... So this is the other thing. People don't really understand what logic is. Logic is not a thing. Logic is... All you know logic by is what you're not allowed to do to facts. What you're not allowed to do to facts is have two contradictory facts sitting there. So the other rules of logic are basically the same one. They're non-contradiction rules. But that's it. That's logic. Facts point to the next fact. There is no real logic. There's just facts pointing to facts. So when you combine two facts, they equal something. You know, 2 plus 3 equals 5. It just happens that way. All right? The equal sign doesn't really do anything except acknowledge that we're adding up these two facts, and this is where they point. And that's logic. But anyway, So, I mean, the logic is only as good as the facts going in. So, if you have inaccuracies in your statement, I mean, if you say something too vague, then you'll have a whole bunch of that plus or minus 10% kind of thing. You'll have a margin of error that gets bigger and bigger as your fact statements get less and less specific and precise. So sloppy language like saying, love is great. Well, yeah, it's not a very good fact statement because it's full of mushy words that don't have any explicit definition. So yeah, you have to explain logic. So this is why this conversation can never go anywhere. It's because we're fundamentally looking at the universe and the world and language and knowledge completely different. You don't understand how to think. Yeah, rationally. Your foundational facts are fucked. Benatar goes on and on about this in his book. No, he doesn't. How he's just bringing into line our moral intuitions. You have some quotes from Benatar. I read the book. I didn't get that. That he was basically saying, hey, look, this is all just subjective crap, and it really doesn't make a goddamn difference how the world turns out, because there is no real value difference, and there's no qualitative meaning. So it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what people do. So I'm just writing this book for the fun of it. I mean, that would be stupid. So that didn't happen. So that's just kind of a lie about Benatar's book. But it's not logically true that suffering matters or is meaningful. Like I said, Benatar never said that. So fuck you, that's idiotic. What does meaning even mean objectively? Meaning means significant. That's what it means objectively. It means important, significant, worth noting, worthy of pause. That's what meaning means. Meaning means it has weight, okay, a gravity of significance. And that's what value has. Value is significance. It is weight. It is gravity in terms of like a commodity. So they don't like the word commodity because they don't want value commoditized, because once you identify it as a commodity, as a precious thing, so that's what meaning means, precious thing, then they'll have to account for it. So that you can see that in Vic. Vic is, I could see, I pushed that button the other night, so at least I got that notice. He hates the word commodity. He doesn't want it to be understood that the welfare state, the feeling state, is a commodity we exchange. He would hate that idea. Alright. Anyone show me one passage where Benatar supports Gary on his value point? Well, I'm just saying the not bad thing you just really can't miss. It's not bad to prevent somebody acquiring a need and then fulfilling it. Yes, that's not bad. There's no torture involved. There's no negative sensations involved. It's not a bad thing to miss out on the profit. The important thing is that the suffering is bad, and he says that explicitly. Uses the word bad. Suffering is bad. I'd say that's pretty fucking consistent with Gary's value point. So I don't think you're going to get Benatar to support the fact that you think you're having an academic conversation that has no real meaning. You can't beat moral nihilists. Yes, you can. They have logic. Well, what logic? Your fact is that there's no fact regarding a value distinction between the sensations experienced when a nail is in your eye and the sensations of, say, orgasm. That those don't have a value difference. That's your logical, that's the fact you premise your logic on. That there's no difference between those two sensations qualitatively or meaningfully or really. No real difference. And that's an idiotic premise. Logic beats intuition. Well, again, who's using intuition? So that's just a more lying. I mean, I've made more videos pissing, pooping, shitting, barfing on the word intuition than I think anyone on YouTube. Anytime anybody uses the word intuition, I nail them on it. It's a shit word. It doesn't mean a motherfucking thing. So again, you can make this accusation, but it's a fucking lie. You're not going to quote me defending my intuitions when you're the one arguing your position is logical. So logic beats intuition when you're the one arguing your position is logical. I don't even know what that means. But again, logic is facts. Facts point. Okay? Period. You're saying it's not a fact, that there's a value difference, a meaningful, real value difference between a nail in my eye and an orgasm. You're saying those two experiences are the same in practical fact. In practical fact, it didn't matter that 6 million Jews were in concentration camps rather than playing dreidel top. Somehow, there's no difference. It wouldn't matter. You could torture 7 billion. You could torture 10 zillion, and it wouldn't make any difference. It's all the same as a bowl of porridge. That's your argument. That's your logic. That's your premise fact, that there is no such thing as a real value. You're a fucktard. You're an idiot. You're a moron. They're not overlapping, what is that? Magistra. Whatever that means. But anyway, magistra. I don't know. Who cares? My evidence is my experience should be a huge warning light. Wow. So again, my evidence is that I have sampled it. That should be a huge warning light. So when somebody says I have sampled something, that should mean, hey, his opinion is going to be incredible because he's actually sampled it, right? So I don't say my evidence is my experience. I say my evidence is my specific experiences. I say my evidence is my sampling of consciousness. The fact that I am conscious gives me knowledge of what consciousness is like. Yes, yes. It completely informs me of what sentience is like, and I could acquire that knowledge no other way than to be sentient. You have to be sentient to know what it is to be sentient. That's just a fact again. Another one of these facts that somehow you don't understand. Stupid fuck. So anyway, so again, this is no distinction. They can make no distinction about when we make a, like say the fact that I became a vegetarian. I didn't become a vegetarian because I loved nature or some other kind of silly thing. I became a vegetarian because of a simple recognition that I'm stealing. I'm taking something else's welfare. It was that obvious to me, right? And had nothing to do with any kind of emotional thing. It just had to do with a practical, factual recognition that it's a sentient being that's going to be having negative and unpleasant sensations, so I can put some crap between a couple of slices of bread when I could put peanut butter and jelly between those slices just as easy. And that was the simple conclusion that for my convenience, I'm torturing, and that's idiotic. It's nothing intuitive, there's nothing emotional, there's nothing anything except acknowledging the fact, hey, I'm doing something really dumb. It's inconvenient, but moral nihilism is correct ultimately, says you. So it's ultimately going to be the truth. If the smartest computer in the world was ever developed, the greatest brain, the greatest intellect in the universe was ever to exist, it would conclude that you can torture as many Jews as you want, and it just doesn't goddamn matter. No difference. Make porridge, make tortured Jews, same difference. Bowls of porridge, tortured Jews, yeah, keep torturing them. What the fuck, who cares? It's entertaining. Maybe. That's what your conclusion is. That's your fucking... So you're so fucking stupid. You're too stupid, like I said, just too stupid. Even though we act, we think and feel otherwise locally. Again, what you think or feel locally, I mean, if that's all the logic goes, if it has no absoluteness, if your facts are only facts this far out, and they don't go any further than that, then they're not facts, in my opinion. And what's that mean? So again, you just don't understand the difference between a recognized value and something, recognizing something has value, and projecting value. So you don't understand the difference between acknowledging that there's different colors and having a favorite color. I mean, having a favorite color is a projection of value. Recognizing that there are colors is a logical, factual truth you've recognized. And you can't make a distinction between those two things because you're a fucking idiot. And you obviously have some motive. I mean, obviously you're some sort of child molester or something. You've done something in your life where you need to negate the existence of value because you can't deal with the fact that you suck. It seems to me that would be the only logic to this. I mean, people are religious for a reason. And people are, people believe in a fairy tale for a reason. And your fairy tale that there's no value truth is so preposterously stupid. Like I said, it can be unwoven so easily. All I have to do is say 7 trillion tortured Jews, no different than 7 trillion bowls of porridge. I mean, all I have to do is say that. It's so fucking idiotic for somebody to put an equal sign between those two things. I mean, it's preposterously idiotic. So why are you doing it? Anyway, so this John Hart guy had posted some response. I deleted it just because it wasn't in the thread, so fuck that. Fuck things out of the thread, basically. Anyway, very helpful. Reality is certainly real. Reality matters. Do you mean in ultimate sense? Evidence, reason, citation needed, please. So he needs a citation for the fact that there is this idea that there is a qualitative value difference between 7 trillion Jews tortured and 7 trillion bowls of porridge. No, it shows they can distinguish between pure logic and their own feelings and desires. So there's no pure logic. Again, it's not pure logic or based on a fact that you would acknowledge the existence of, recognize sentient organisms have a function different from bowls of porridge. And that function is they can manifest sensations that are intrinsically obnoxious. They're just intrinsically bad, as Benatar would call them. Bad feelings. Bad. I'm an anti-natalist moral nihilist. Well, again, it just doesn't make any sense. If you say moral nihilism, then you can't be against any value crime. So you can't be anti-rape, you can't be anti-molestation, you can't be anti-anything because you've made an equivalency. You don't understand that nihilism means equivalency. You've annihilated you've annihilated the true existence of any distinction based on qualitative value outcome. So you're basically saying it doesn't matter what the universe looks like. It doesn't matter how filthy or dirty it is. It's just the same as pristine and beautiful and pure. They're both the same things. Herpes is the same as Nivea skin or something. I said, you're just denying the fact. You're saying the disease is just as good as no disease. That's what nihilism is, idiot. Nihilism annihilates the difference between things, idiot. So rather than disclose that later as a gotcha, you should know it now. Yeah, and thank you for informing me, because I had actually linked you on my videos just because I said, hey, I got a lot in common with this guy. He's got anxiety disorders, social things, all kinds of fucked up psychology. And I said, oh, this interesting character. But now I find out you're a totally uninteresting character because you have the #1 fact in the universe wrong, and you don't even value your own suffering, which is incredible to me. Anyone who claims to be a sufferer, and you make a video claiming to be a sufferer, and then you discount the meaning of your suffering. That's like that's like Anti-natalist saying he knows what depression is. He has no humility. He was not scared straight by the experience. So in my opinion, he has no clue what suffering is. Because if you've really suffered, you're scared straight by it. Okay, you are. It gets your fucking attention, and it gets it in such a loud way that you will never forget, and you will always be humbled at the raw, harsh, brutal power of that steamroller. And so for me, I'm just saying, well, you're just a silly person, because your pain can't be of any significance if you're willing to just throw it in the garbage and say it doesn't mean anything. You being tormented is just the same as you being happy. To say that in the face of that steamroller would be insane, in my opinion. So you're either insane, besides having all your other disabilities, or you're full of shit and you really don't have any kind of anxiety problem whatsoever. You're just a silly person with a bunch of compulsive disorders. That doesn't mean suffering matters in any ultimate sense. Well, again, I don't know what other sense it could possibly matter in that matters, so what sense does it matter? I mean, frankly, if your suffering isn't meaningful, then just say suffering isn't meaningful. Okay, well, I can't understand that. No matter how I twist my brain, there's no fucking way I can do that. Just as I can't make it possible for there to be talking bears that sleep in beds and eat porridge. I can't do it. It matters how. It matters here now on Earth in my brain. Well, again, what matters in your brain could be whether the Mets win the World Series. So we've already conceded that the brain does two kinds of perception. It does this projection based on its desires, and it does this recognition based on facts. And so again, just saying your brain doesn't mean anything, but you have to be able to recognize that sometimes your brain's doing sensible science, it's trying to discover the truth, and sometimes it's just saying, I want. And we know the difference. People with any kind of philosophical integrity know the difference between discovery and I want. Looking for something and just looking for the truth are two different things. It matters how in my brains, and so it compels me to be an anti-natalist and vegan. Well, again, the fact that it compels you is fine, but that is of no value in my opinion. You're of no value to the cause because you have no right to tell somebody else to change their behavior or suggest they should change their behavior because you're basing it on no fact. You're saying there are no value facts. You're just basing this on some sort of impression you emotionally have. Well, fuck that, okay? Nobody should be able to impose their emotional impressions on anybody else, or their emotional dependencies, or their subjective taste. Because you don't have a taste for life, well, that's a bullshit reason to suggest other people shouldn't have kids. If you don't have some logic behind it or facts behind it, then you have nothing, so go to hell. Fuck you. You're of no use, in my opinion. You can't be any kind of a list except a nihilist. Once you declare yourself a nihilist, you really don't have a right to be anything else. You don't have a right to be a progressive or a this or that. You don't have a right to be a single other thing because you've basically said outcomes don't matter. So fuck you. What is this ultimate sense? So this is the John guy. There is no ultimate sense. There's no sensing outside the creatures like this. It's just something nihilists make up so they can had to have an excuse to belittle the importance of something. Obviously, apparently you don't use it that way, but many nihilists do. Well, I think he is using it that way. He's just trivializing the most important thing just because he doesn't want to have to account for that thing existing for whatever reason. He's escaping the obligations by word bullshit. So this guy makes a good point. Matter and property of the universe manifests itself in experience. It is a value reality. The nihilists aren't being logical. It doesn't even have anything to do with logic. Just like creationists, they are factually wrong about the world they live in. That's right. You've just wrongly dissected reality to think that reality didn't, just by circumstance of the creation of biological sentience, fall on the creation of value. And I've explained this whole creation of value thing, that the brain needed a mechanism to reward and punish, and by creating a mechanism to reward and punish, it created value, the real thing. So it was synthesizing value, and it made real value that didn't exist in the universe because it needed to make something in the world valuable to us. It needed us to think the Mets winning the World Series was valuable. And the only way it could make us think that was to make us feel that. Because there was no way to make us think it, because it's illogical. So it had to make us feel it. And by making us feel it, it created real value. So anyway, yeah, hangover from the God delusion, correct. Okay, I'll just read this self-emulator guy. Ultimate context objectivity. I mean, if there were no humans around, no life forms around at all, well, if there was no life forms, there would be no sentience. So yeah, nothing could matter. Or if the testing was just separated by millions of light years or something like that. You know, somehow he's arguing, well, the argument is irrelevant. I mean, obviously, if there's a sentient being, one of them, in the universe has value in it. There's a welfare stake. It can be nail in the eye, or it can be orgasm, and those two outcomes are different in their value condition. It is not value reality, it's made up sentient reality, just like the hotness of a woman. See, so he turned it again into this acknowledgement that other sentient beings exist, that they have a state of being that is either obnoxious or comfortable, uncomfortable or discomfortable, and that those two things are fundamentally different in a value way. That recognition is the same as I'm horny for 6-foot-tall women. So it's just as much of a projection of value from my emotional or desire mechanism. So I would first argue that we have no innate desire mechanism regarding valuing things in the world, in the sense of it's not to my advantage to concede the existence of other sentient beings having a welfare state that I'm responsible for influencing. It's not to my advantage in any way whatsoever. So the only reason why I'm doing it is because it is so logically loud that I can't ignore it. This certainly would be to my advantage to ignore it. But that's why you're doing it, right? It's because it's to your advantage. So again, clearly this is just an illustration of the fact that they refuse to acknowledge that there's a difference between saying what gives me a boner and what does my brain understand through acquiring facts about evolution and science and physics and mechanics, understand the world to be. And they're saying both of those things are the same thing. What kind of food I like, right? My taste in food is just as rational as my understanding of gravity and a ball rolling down an inclined plane. No, those two things aren't the same at all. I can't see anybody coming back with a reply, whatever. You're predicting the weakness straw man before anyone is even replied. I don't even know what that means, but whatever. Citation needed that reality has value as a fundamental property. Yeah, right. So it's kind of funny, because this guy makes a joke out of that, and this guy didn't even get the joke. Citation needed. You know, it's just so stupid. The citation is, yes, I've personally tasted consciousness, and I'm telling you it's a fundamental property of consciousness creating value sensations. There's no doubt about their value reality. That's the only thing that makes them distinct. It's the only thing that makes them different is the fact that one sucks and one doesn't. Yeah, that's the difference between a feeling. Suck or not suck. The hotness of a woman is always a projection. Eliminate my subjective projection of a woman's hotness, and there is no more hotness. Eliminate my valuing of the feeling bunny rabbit, and the value still exists. So again, recognizing something that has a welfare state is very different than saying I like chocolate cream pie. The only way to get rid of it is to get rid of the bunny. Well, exactly, or to get the bunny out of danger or harm's way and give us the sense that we don't need to worry about it because it's safe. Citation needed. Seriously. Okay, ouch. Everything that feels. So he's he's just turning the citation thing on this guy. Eliminate my valuing of the feeling bunny rabbit, and the value still exists. Citation needed. So again, he says it again. Seriously, okay, ouch. This. So this is the quote of the guy, except he doesn't say that about the bunny rabbit. So he's taking this and connecting these two things. He did not say citation needed after the bunny rabbit. He said citation needed seriously. He's making a joke about this. So anyway, remember, I'm totally with you, except pretending it's a failed citation. Yeah. Everything that feels is his argument. But anyway, remember, I'm totally with you except pretending it's objective or ultimate. I don't know, ultimate's a kind of a funny word, but the fact that it would be absolute or true, and to say it's not objective, I mean, to say that you're acknowledging that something is sentient, you've acquired knowledge of what sentience is by being sentient, by actually having feelings. There's nothing unobjective about those two conditions. Sampling consciousness is not an act of unobjectivity. It's actually an act of objectivity. It's an act of acquiring knowledge. And frankly, there's no pretending when you're just doing the logic of recognizing that the function is a brain function, and wherever there's a brain that's conscious, it's going to be doing that function. That's just like recognizing that computers compute. The only logical position for an atheist is moral nihilism. Well, again, that's just idiotic. There's no logic to eviscerating the substantive difference between nail in the eye and cupcake. But in the logical and subjective consensus, where our empathy and feelings have sway, well, again, you're calling it subjective. I'm saying that's just bullshit. You haven't demonstrated or proven subjectivity in these observations. You're just fucking declaring it. And that's fucking obnoxious and rude. Alright, you're the asshole, you know, with the accusations you haven't defended. So where's your citation? Where's your evidence that my recognition that other sentient creatures on Earth exist and that their state or condition of their consciousness is similar to my own? Where have you evidence that that's a subjective interpretation of reality and not just a factual statement? There we have almost identical views. Well, again, there's no identical, so you can say it's an almost identical view, but that would be idiotic because obviously his view is it's not some sort of subjective, made up, I want the Mets to win the World Series for some intuitive reason bullshit. It's a recognition that I personally know that feelings are come in the flavor of good and bad, that the bad is actual bad and the good is actual good, and there's no bullshit there. And I know when something else is going to have these feelings, it's having a bad feeling, the bad feeling really exists, and if I caused it, I have to account for it. It's not a non-event, it's an event. It's a real thing that happens in the real universe, and it has a real negative value. It's a fact. Torture sucks. Anyway, let's see how far to go. So he's playing, here's where he does this citation needed part again. So you are admitting that you cannot provide citations needed, whatever, for the previous statement and instead want to shift the burden of proof to me. No, he didn't. He's not shifting the burden of proof to you. He's just playing your game. You're the one saying you have some right to say we have to have a citation explaining how we acquired knowledge by being sentient. Well, I can't explain it to you any other way than to say the only way you can know a feeling is to have a feeling. I've had them. I know them. And I concluded there's just no doubt about it. There's a huge difference between a nail in my eye and a cupcake. There's no fucking doubt about it. And you're arguing to me, hey, Gary, you got it wrong. There really is no difference. You could have nails pulled in and out of your eye all day long, and that's just as good as you sitting on the couch masturbating to porn. Just as good. You're just being fooled by your intuition. That's your argument. And you're telling me I'm supposed to think that's how I'm supposed to make sense out of that? That's not utter and complete rubbish? That's like I said, it's more insane than the theory of Jehovah? Yeah, it's more insane. Yeah, you got a better chance of convincing me God exists than you do convincing me that my sensations have no real difference qualitatively, that they're all the same and I could have any sensation all day long and it really doesn't matter. Fuck you. So anyway, there's a bunch of comments that he doesn't respond to, so I have to wait till he responds to those. But yeah, fuck you. Yeah, nihilist, get what you deserve, you nihilist fuck. Yeah, like I said, I'm just saying, if somebody has to have the unpleasantness dumped on them, it might as well be the nihilist because they don't think it's real. So yeah, if somebody has to be tortured on earth, you're the guy that should be tortured. So it worked out fine. The fact that you have all kinds of anxiety disorders and you suffer internally with all this mental anguish and pain, it's exactly appropriate. I mean, as funny as that sounds, because you don't think it means anything. So it couldn't happen to a better person. I mean, you're the perfect person to be tortured by life because you don't think it matters. You don't think it's a significant event. So yeah, pile the torture on that asshole. If there was a God, I would suggest, yeah, pile it on that fucker. Because he doesn't think it means anything. Yeah. Even religion, you know, I mean, they invented heaven and hell. You know, so even the religious fucktards could get the idea that you don't want to be in fucking hell, okay? That there's really something awful about that, and there's really something good about being in the place where there is no problems, no plumbing leaks, and no other kind of bullshit, no rent to pay, you know, none of that kind of crap. You might have to do some potato farming. I don't know exactly what the heaven rules are, but anyway, it beats the fuck out of hell. And it beats the fuck out of it because everybody already knows this shit. And I'm saying, why am I arguing with some fucktard that can't even figure out what religious douchebags figure out, which is hell is bad. Okay? Yeah, they can figure that out. And these assholes can't. So yeah, you're more mockable than the religious kook. So yeah, fuck off, douchebag. Take Vic with you to whatever. Your funky universe of it doesn't really matter. Let's just do anything, you know, because it doesn't matter. Let's run with scissors all day long. That's what you should be sentenced to run through the universe for eternity with a pair of scissors. Yeah, just see how many times you can gut yourself. You fucking shithead. Too fucking stupid. I mean, like I said, there's got to be a reason you're this panicked. You know, there's nobody runs from the truth this fast unless they have fucking dumped a big pile of whatever, dead fetuses on somebody's doorstep, you know, and caught it on fire and ran. I mean, there's some reason why you're running. You've done something in your fucking life, shithead, to be running from the truth this fucking hard. So fuck you, criminal. Anyway, till next time. Such.